All right, we're back into it. Grade 10 science, chemistry. We're looking at ionic reactions and how we form precipitates. Have a think. What do I mean by precipitate? We discussed it last lesson. It's when a solid's formed from a reaction of two liquids. Something solid is formed because it won't dissolve in the liquid anymore, so it comes out as a solid. All right, much like some examples on the screen there at the moment. Think about how you're feeling. Don't want you to sort of feel like you're a little bit out of sorts at the moment today. You should be making sure your mental health is all really good and see how you go. As always, we need our periodic table. It is fairly essential for all of these reactions. So today we're going to look at investigating the solubility of ionic compounds, which is forming those precipitates. Here's a nice example of a precipitate reaction. We're mixing two clear liquids together and we're getting that yellow solid formed, which is our precipitate. Don't be like old sodium and try and kidnap chlorine, because that's a salt. Sodium chloride, get it? We spoke about this guy before, how the silver nitrate and sodium chloride are reacting. Just pause the video and look at those that reaction there and see how the different atoms have shifted around. Last time we spoke about precipitation and we spoke about the solubility table. We're going to take it a little bit further today. Here's a bit of a nice video to go and check out. I'll put the link in the description below. Check out more about precipitation reactions of cations and anions. Have a think. What do I mean by cations and anions? We spoke about them before. The cations are the positive ones because they've lost the electrons. Anions have gained the electrons and they've formed a negative ion, which is an anion. When they react and what they form is not soluble in water, that's a precipitate, often abbreviated as that. We spoke about our reaction of silver nitrate last time. It's a good one to try in the laboratory, and when you're back at school we can have a go at doing that particular reaction and you can see that cloudy layer form there. We can have a look at this one as well with the silver nitrate, potassium chromate, forming potassium nitrate in solution, and they dissociate or they come apart from each other a bit in the solution, and silver chromate. That's the solid precipitate. Remember, we've got to calculate our solubility from the solubility table that we've got. That's the rules that it keeps referring to. Where do you find the answers to the solubility problems? In the solutions manual, of course, because solubility is all about solutions. That's the table that we need. You need to have that with you through all this, and you'll be given it in your exam at the end. Right, what we're going to look at is this particular experiment, where what we're going to do is work out some precipitates. We have a little test tubes, and we're going to have these particular bits of equipment: copper sulfate, sodium chloride, silver nitrate, cobalt chloride, sodium hydroxide, and potassium iodide. I'm going to put little drops of them in the little test tube, and then drops of another clear chemical. See how they actually react. See if it forms a precipitate. All right, and so for the first one, for example, we have copper sulfate, and then we're adding sodium chloride. So you've got to put the equation together. What do we have? Copper sulfate plus sodium chloride will react to produce, and then they're basically going to swap. Copper chloride plus sodium sulfate. You look at these two products, that's this one and this one. That is a chloride and that is a sulfate. You look up chloride ions and sulfate ions, and it will tell you if copper chloride is soluble or insoluble. If it's insoluble, it will be a solid, a precipitate. It will tell you if sodium sulfate is a precipitate or not as well. That's the solubility table I keep referring to. All right, there's our solution. We'll do that one when we come back to school. Make sure you pause the video and read through that one yourself. A little bit more info about it. Once again, pause it, read through that. Note the bit on the previous slide about disposing of your chemicals when you're finished. All right, chapter 4.2, 4.6, 5.3. Have a look at the review questions, and you have a quiz to complete for this week. Think about today's little task. We will do that experiment when we return to school. Make sure you do that, and you can write out the equations for each reaction. We're going to talk about chemical reactions next time and start to do some more formula like the one I just wrote out for that experiment. All right, thanks for coming.